I moved out while my boyfriend was at the gym. His sister turned his whole family against me and he let it happen. I'm 26, and tomorrow I'm finally walking away from Mike, who's 31. I've had it with putting up with the nonsense from his family while he just stands there like a statue, never once stepping in to defend me. I honestly need to know if I'm doing the right thing here or if I'm just overreacting and being a huge pain about all this. For some background, we've been together for about 3 years and living under the same roof for a little over 1. We met at a mutual friend's birthday bash. He accidentally spilled his drink on me and then insisted on getting me a new one to make up for it. He was charming, funny, and honestly, we hit it off instantly. Things felt solid between us, at least they did until I got a real glimpse of his family and how low I actually rank on his priority list. His sister, Darla, she's 37, has one of those overpowering personalities that's basically torpedoed every relationship she's ever had. She's smart, skilled in a trade, and always has something to say. She could be out there making money, but instead, she chose to stay home full-time. No job, just endless battles with her ex over child support, and plenty of energy left over to verbally trash people. Every time there's a family gathering, it feels like tiptoeing through a field of landmines. One wrong comment, and suddenly, you're her sworn enemy. She's got 2 kids under 10 and uses them as an excuse for literally everything. Can't work, kids. Can't clean, kids. Always late? You guessed it, kids. Yet somehow she finds all the time in the world to stir up drama online. She's constantly posting vague shots at people on Facebook, stuff like fake friends and knowing who's real, but never actually names anyone. She's always broke, but she turns down job offers like she's allergic to employment. I remember Mike's uncle even offered her a solid receptionist job at his dental clinic, flexible hours, decent pay, and she rejected it because, according to her, medical environments make her uncomfortable. Whatever that's supposed to mean. You can't say a single thing without worrying she'll twist it into some personal attack. She doesn't care about other people's opinions. She's the kind of person who hijacks every conversation. Say you're tired, and suddenly she hasn't slept in 4 days because of the kids. One time, when her ex walked out on her, she had a full-on meltdown. It was like emotional whiplash, sobbing 1 minute, screaming the next. Everyone in the family was tiptoeing around, unsure what might set her off. I'll never forget this one dinner. We all gathered to cheer her up. Mike's mom made this huge meal, trying to lift her spirits. Darla complained the food was too spicy. It wasn't, said the quiet background music was giving her a headache, and even accused people of staring at her. Nobody was. Then Mike's dad cracked a harmless joke about the neighbor's flashy new car, and Darla burst into tears, saying everyone was mocking her ex. It was exhausting. Later, his mom actually came to me for advice. They were considering getting Darla professional help, but she wasn't having it. I gently suggested maybe a part-time job could be a healthy distraction, something to get her out of the house and give her a sense of normalcy. At the time, his mom nodded and seemed to appreciate the idea. We even talked about job openings that might be a good fit. I genuinely thought we were connecting over our shared concern for Darla. But just a few days later, the narrative flipped. Darla suddenly decided I was the enemy, claimed I called her unstable and blamed her breakdown on being unemployed. Mike parroted that right back to me. She started telling everyone that I thought she was lazy and mentally unwell. She twisted my words beyond recognition. And just like that, she decided I wasn't allowed to talk to their youngest brother Tim anymore. I lost him too, right in the same week. Tim and I had actually become really good friends. He's probably the most down-to-earth person in that whole circus, and we could talk about everything and nothing for hours. His wife Sarah and I got along well, too. We shared memes, went shopping together sometimes. It was always friendly, and nothing shady was going on. We'd invite them over for dinner or meet up for drinks. Then, out of nowhere, Mike tells me that it's weird how much I talk to Tim. What does that even mean? I remember looking at Mike and asking straight up, "Do you honestly think there's something going on between me and Tim?" And he said, "Well, you two are pretty close, like being friends with his brother was some kind of crime." I reminded him that Sarah was almost always involved in those hangouts too, and he just shrugged and said, "Darla thinks it's weird." And I kind of agree. After that, Tim stopped replying to my messages. Sarah unfollowed me on Instagram. It stung a lot. I genuinely believed we were friends. Later, I found out Darla had told them I was talking trash about their marriage. Complete lies. But they took her word for it because she's family, and I'm just the outsider girlfriend. Then Mike had the nerve to tell me I should apologize to Darla. For what? Offering a suggestion his mom literally asked for? He said I didn't understand how their family worked and that Darla was going through a tough time. Like we didn't all know that. But apparently, the only acceptable response is to coddle her and never, ever say anything that might encourage improvement. I tried to explain to Mike that I wasn't attacking his sister, I was trying to help, based on a conversation with his mother. And he hit me with, "Darla's always been sensitive. You should have known better than to suggest she get a job." As if that's some horrible insult. He just kept repeating, "That's how my family is. You have to understand that." What he really meant was, I should just accept being disrespected and keep my mouth shut. The worst part? Mike never once defended me. Not when Darla started turning the family against me. Not when his mom started acting cold. Not even when I got uninvited to family events. He just said I was overreacting. Then he went without me like nothing was wrong. One time, we were supposed to go to his cousin's wedding together. I'd picked out a new dress and everything. 2 days before the wedding, Mike casually told me it might be better if I just didn't go. According to him, Darla was still upset and didn't want any drama at the event, like I was the one always starting trouble. I asked if he was still planning to attend, and without missing a beat, he said, "Well, yeah, it's his cousin's wedding." So off he went without me, dressed up and smiling in every picture he posted with his family, while I stayed home feeling completely left out. He stumbled and drunk at 3 a.m. raving about what a blast he had, and I just sat there wondering how it had come to this. That wasn't the only time I felt like an outsider. One Thanksgiving, I spent the whole day in the kitchen helping his mom cook. But when it came time to sit down and eat, Darla made a big show of announcing that the seat next to their mom was saved for Tim's wife, the seat I was literally about to take. I ended up sitting at the very end of the table, next to a distant cousin I'd never even met. Mike saw the whole thing happen and didn't say a single word. I'm so fed up with how he acts every time he comes back from seeing his family. The last major fight we had was after one of his visits. I'd asked him to ease up on the drinking because he gets mean and says really hurtful things when he's drunk. Instead of listening, he accused me of trying to control him. Then he called me a liar because during that argument, my arrhythmia flared up and I told him I needed space to calm down. That night was especially rough. He'd been at his parents' place for dinner, of course. I wasn't invited. He came home around midnight, completely wasted. I was already in bed, but got up when I heard him knock over a lamp in the living room. I asked if he was okay to drive, and instead of answering, he started yelling about how I'm always watching him, trying to control his drinking. He knows about my heart condition. It's something I've dealt with since I was a teenager. It's mostly under control with meds, but stress can still trigger it. While he was yelling, I felt my heart racing and fluttering. I told him I didn't feel right and needed to sit down. Instead of showing concern, he accused me of faking it just to avoid the conversation. Like seriously, who fakes a heart episode to get out of a fight? I ended up locking myself in the bathroom, taking my emergency meds and trying to calm my breathing, while he stood outside banging on the door telling me I was being overdramatic. When I finally came out, he'd passed out cold on the couch. The next morning, he barely remembered any of it. He brushed it off like I was exaggerating and being too sensitive. We've been living together in his apartment for over a year now. I don't have a mountain of stuff here, but I paid for half of everything. I covered all the groceries and paid the entire electricity bill. I even bought the couch we sit on and the TV we watch every night. When the shower started leaking, I paid for the bathroom to be retiled. I got us new curtains for both the living room and bedroom. I even replaced the ancient microwave with a new one when it finally died. No matter how much I put in, I was never treated like an equal. One time, his mom looked me dead in the eye and told me that no matter what happens, Mike's priorities are crystal clear. That was the moment something just clicked in my head. I got the ick. I decided then and there that I was done. That conversation happened in her kitchen while Mike and his dad were out in the garage doing something with the car. She started off being sweet, asking about my job and how I was liking living with Mike. Then she suddenly said, "You know, Mike's always been really family-oriented. His priorities are clear." The way she stared at me when she said it, it was obvious what she meant. I would never come first. Not over Darla. Not over any of them. I've been sleeping in the guest room for 2 months now. He thinks it's because I snore, some excuse I threw out there. I told him work stress was messing with my sleep and that I needed better rest. The truth? I couldn't stomach the idea of him touching me anymore. He's tried initiating sex a few times, coming into the guest room late at night or cornering me in the kitchen, but I just act polite and brush it off. I've completely lost the urge to fix things. It's like a switch flipped in my head and I knew I couldn't do it anymore. A couple of weeks ago, I was in the kitchen making tea when he came up behind me and started kissing my neck. I didn't feel a thing. No warmth, no attraction. Actually, I felt gross. I made up some excuse about having cramps and went back to the guest room. He got sulky and said I never want to be intimate anymore, then asked if I was cheating on him. As if the only reason I'd pull away is because I'm with someone else. The guest room has slowly become my safe space. I moved most of my clothes in there, brought in my books and my laptop. I spend all my time there when I'm home. He's made a few comments about how it feels like we're roommates instead of partners, but he never once asks why I might be acting this way. It's like it never even occurs to him that his actions or his family might be part of the reason I'm pulling away. I'm sad, yeah, but I'm mostly relieved. I'm finally leaving. I found a new apartment not far from where I work. I'll be moving out tomorrow morning while he's at the gym. He's religious about his workouts, leaves every day at 7 a.m. and doesn't get back until 9:30, so I know I'll have a window. I've already removed all my important documents, and whatever else I keep here fits in my car. I've been slowly moving stuff out piece by piece when he's not home. At first, I was just browsing apartment listings, telling myself I was just curious. But then I found this small one-bedroom unit that felt right. I signed the lease last week and picked up the keys 3 days ago. I'll leave him a note or message after I'm gone. I honestly never expected it to get to this point, and part of me is nervous not because I still care about him romantically, but because I know this will shatter his ego. I'm saying this not to excuse him, but because I've seen how he reacts when people distance themselves. He does not handle rejection well. I remember when his friend Jake stopped replying after Mike got drunk and made a move on Jake's girlfriend at a party. Mike obsessed over it, constantly checking to see if Jake had read his texts, even driving by Jake's place to see if his car was there. It was unsettling. Another time, his best friend from college, someone he'd known since freshman year, cut ties with him. Mike spiraled into depression for weeks. And then there was this guy he was supposed to go into business with. They were going to launch a home renovation company together. Chris had the skills, Mike had some savings, and they were in deep planning mode, brainstorming names, pricing out trucks, all that stuff. So in the end, Chris bailed. Mike tried to spin it like Chris had gotten some amazing job offer from another company, but later I found out through a mutual friend that wasn't the case. Chris had simply gotten fed up, tired of Mike constantly changing plans, showing up late to meetings, and dropping the ball on the things he said he'd handle. Honestly, I should have seen that whole situation as a red flag. At this point, I don't think there's anything left that could possibly fix this relationship. Too much damage has been done. I can't unsee how his family treated me, or how he just let it happen without ever sticking up for me. The trust is gone. The love is gone. What's left is just this empty, worn-out routine that we're both going through on autopilot. Edit, thanks to everyone who left comments. Some of y'all were a bit brutal, but I appreciate the advice regardless. I'll post an update once it's all over. And to the person who asked, no, we're not married, thank God. And no, I'm not pregnant either. Seriously. Also, to those suggesting I should sit him down and talk this all out, yeah, no. I've tried that. I've had countless conversations with Mike, told him how his family makes me feel like garbage, how it hurts when he stands there and says nothing. Every time, it's the same routine, he brushes it off or makes empty promises to do better, and nothing ever actually changes. I'm so tired of repeating myself. Update, I didn't think this many people would want an update, but here goes. Sorry it took a few days, I've been emotionally and physically drained. I really didn't expect over 60 comments on my original post. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked so many strangers are invested in my mess of a relationship. First of all, thank you for all the practical tips. Some of you pointed out stuff I hadn't even thought of, like changing my mailing address, and you were right. I did that immediately once I found a new place. I've already had a few packages redirected, and I've updated my address with my bank, credit cards, and all my important accounts. I also made sure I had all my documents, birth certificate, passport, social security card, all together in one spot. Turns out my passport was expired, but that's a problem for another day. I barely slept the night before the move. I kept playing out scenarios in my head where Mike came home early and caught me mid-move. I think I maybe got 2 hours of sleep, max. The original plan was to leave first thing in the morning, but things got tricky the night before. He tried to initiate sex by coming into the guest room. Thankfully, I hadn't packed anything yet, just kept all the moving supplies hidden in the closet. Nothing looked suspicious. I'd been quietly building a list on my phone for weeks, just things I needed to remember to grab before I left. Also, to the folks who warned me about trackers, okay, some of you clearly watched too much true crime, but I took it seriously anyway. I brought my phone and card to an IT booth at the mall and asked them to check. The guy gave me a weird look, but he did it. No trackers. Nothing shady. Still, I was relieved. He left for the gym around 7 a.m., like clockwork. I waited at the window until I saw his car pull out of the lot. The second he was gone, I got to work. It's wild how much stuff you can accumulate without even realizing it. I packed everything up fast, suitcases, boxes, everything on my list. Turned out to be less than I expected, honestly. Kind of sad, really. After living with someone for over a year, all my belongings fit into my beat-up Honda. I had to do 2 trips since it wouldn't all fit in one go. The second trip had me sweating bullets, thinking he might come back early and catch me. But he didn't. He stuck to his usual schedule, and I got out clean. I left the couch and the TV, even though I technically paid for both. Not worth the drama. I didn't want to give him any excuse to accuse me of stealing or make a scene, and honestly, I couldn't have moved them alone anyway. Before I walked out for the last time, I stood in the apartment for a moment, just looking around. Then I drove to my new place and texted him once I was safely inside. I kept it short, just told him that things weren't working, that his family's toxicity had taken its toll, and that I'd moved out. I said we could talk later if needed, but that my decision was final. He called me within seconds. I almost didn't pick up, but I figured I at least owed him one last conversation. Big mistake. He didn't take it well. First, he accused me of being selfish, saying I was just blaming his family as an excuse. Then he insulted me, called me frigid, and said I was a cold fish who ruined the relationship by not wanting to sleep with him. Like that was the issue. Right, me not wanting to be intimate with someone who let his family disrespect me for years. Totally the problem. In the same breath, he'd swing to crying and begging me to come back. Then flip again and tell me I was a heartless B*** H who never really loved him. It was like emotional whiplash. One second he said he couldn't live without me, and the next he was tearing me down. He kept asking where I was, if I was with someone else, demanding my new address. I didn't tell him anything. Then he said he was coming home right away so we could talk in person. I told him flat out that wasn't happening. I'd said everything I needed to say. After about 30 exhausting minutes of back and forth, I hung up. I was shaking so hard, I could barely open the pill bottle for my heart meds. My hands were trembling, and my heart was pounding out of control. For a couple of days after that, it was just silence. I thought maybe he'd accepted it and moved on. But no. Then came the texts, non-stop, random hours. One message would be all sweet, saying he missed me. The next would be full of insults. 2 a.m. he'd say he loved me, 6 a.m. he'd call me a soulless monster. It was draining just seeing my phone light up. His mom called too. I ignored it. She left a voicemail saying we needed to discuss the situation and that I was breaking her poor son's heart, like mine doesn't matter. Then Darla jumped in with a long, ridiculous Facebook message about how I never deserved Mike and how the whole family was happy I was gone. If that were true, why not just leave me the hell alone? I blocked all of them, his mom, Darla, anyone with his last name. But I'm still planning to change my number soon, just to be safe. I already locked down my social media and might even deactivate for a while. I need some peace. I'm trying to focus on healing and getting settled in my new place, but all this drama is wearing me out. My health is taking a hit. I'm beyond exhausted, and my condition flares up if I don't rest properly. I've been eating well, taking my meds, going on light walks, but it's hard when your phone keeps blowing up with messages from people you've blocked 3 times already. Right now, I'm just keeping to myself. I'm not even remotely interested in dating. This whole mess left me completely jaded. I don't know if I'll ever want to go through anything like this again. Being single sounds peaceful in comparison. So thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. Seriously. When you're stuck in a toxic situation, it's so easy to doubt yourself. Reading your responses helped me see that I wasn't crazy. I wasn't being too sensitive. I was reacting like a human being with boundaries.